From Studio 226 in Orlando, Florida, this is another episode of Aging Smarter. This episode focuses on living spaces and making them more welcoming. Have you ever thought about how bright lights, loud noises, bustling crowds, even being admitted to a hospital or traveling through a crowded airport, and how that affects people who may have some form of dementia or similar diagnosis? Now, we're only talking about cognitive impairment due primarily to aging, Parkinson's disease, and Alzheimer's disease. And these are only some of the cognitive disorders that fall under that expansive umbrella that we know as dementia. When someone suffers from a cognitive decline, they should not have to remove themselves from fun things in life, dining at restaurants, going on vacations, or to the movies. Can you imagine not getting to do some of those things? How isolating, how lonely that would be. We're going to explore that concept of dementia-friendly dining. And that's right. Instead of staying at home or having a frustrating night out, these restaurants have staff that know how to create a positive and memorable dining experience. Here with me is Dr. Dennis Dulniak, retired registrar of the University of Central Florida, a fierce advocate for those suffering with dementia. And also, to share her experience with us is Toni Gitles, a tireless advocate who, along with Dr. Dolniak, trains restaurant staff and who herself lived with the experience of a family member with dementia. Welcome, Dr. Dolniak. Welcome, Ms. Gitles. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Ms. Gitles, let's begin with you.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. My background is in healthcare, and what spurred me to this very moment in time was that I took care of my mother for 14 years, and that was a very challenging experience.
And a long time.
A
14
long
years.
time.
What dedication you had.
She was a lovely lady.
There must be a special place for you in heaven, too.
Well, thank you very much. There is a special place in my heart for my mother. I was an only child, and we just loved each other dearly. So whatever she needed, I just altered my life to be her caregiver. And when she passed away in 2017, I realized there are many, many people going through a similar experience without training, struggling along with high anxiety and stress situations. And I wanted to be part of changing the dialogue about caregivers and helping them to go through their experience. So I started a company to consult with them and eventually wrote a book to help them called 21 Mistakes Caregivers Make and How to Avoid Them.
Excellent. Excellent. Is that available through Amazon?
It is available through Amazon.
21 Mistakes Caregivers Make. You know, I don't know whether you know this or not, but my mother-in-law is 104 years old. Still strong, still going, living in an independent living facility. But I will tell you, it is a challenge for someone to 24/7 be at the ready for anything that may occur. If I had a hat, I would tip my hat to you for what you've done. There are so many of us that have aging parents. Hopefully, when we get our turn to be there, our children or those of us who care for us will be able to have access to that 21 mistakes caregivers make and read the book and not make them.
Yeah, thank you.
You bet.
Yeah, I hope it'll reduce the stress and provide more happiness in their journey, because it is a journey.
Yes.
And there are lessons to be learned, and there is joy to be found.
There's a doctor, her name is Rosemary Laird, who basically works with navigating aging needs, which utilizes what we have now with telehealth type approach, as well as hands-on help for caregivers, which basically reduces the stress. And they're doing clinical trials, and the clinical trials tend to show that when the stress is reduced in a caregiver, the care that is received is much improved. And you know, that's kind of not so obvious, but again, they're looking at proving it scientifically through a clinical trial. So, Dr. Dolniak, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was a retired educator worked 40 years in higher education at various universities. When Nancy was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's, it was time for me to retire because I recognized the fact that time is more important than making money at that stage. And I'd never regret that decision because finding out that she had a terminal disease and the limited time, which we had no idea how long that would be, was something that we wanted to counter. And we also participated in drug trials to try to give hope to families and ourselves on how Nancy could participate, help science, and help our family. And
I've been told that when you receive a diagnosis that is that critical and that life ending, that it's like you're running towards a finish line, but you don't know when that finish line is going to come that you will cross.
for us, it was a lot of learning because we had no idea that dementia would occur this early in her family at age 62. And so, with that, it became important that we take action immediately. And so, reducing job responsibilities and focusing on education and the legal aspects that had to be gone through, which is very, very important with this disease, because without that, it's a struggle without having the legal documents later on.
And those are very complex and quite a large number of documents that you have to go through, an incredibly large number of decisions that have to be made. If she had capacity um, at the point that any of those were drafted, again, to include her thoughts and her desires, uh, that's a big responsibility.
And that's exactly what happened. She was able to do that. We got to communicate that with our family, and we actually did a lot of traveling, enjoying our time together, making those important moments that I have with me now. That unfortunately for her became fleeting as soon as we got home.
Yeah, yeah. So tell me, when did dementia-friendly dining come into view for you?
Well, it started in Central Florida based on an article that my son shared with me from the Washington Post. There's a great article on what in Huntington, West Virginia, of a restaurant that started this. And Nancy and I would frequently go to this restaurant in East Orlando and enjoy dining there. And I
Is that
did,
restaurant still out?
unfortunately, it closed.
Oh,
COVID and and all of the happenings that happened thereabouts, reducing its activity. Uh, it was a mom and pop place, the Meatball Stop,
oh, that's right.
and
I remember you talking about that.
Isabella was just an amazing part owner of that, along with her husband. And actually, I would take Nancy out of her memory care facility and go have a meal there. And this meal, we actually started talking about dementia friendly dining in this article that Craig had sent us. And I looked around and said, maybe this could be our first dementia friendly dining restaurant. So I invited Isabella over to the table. We talked about it. She said, absolutely. My family has lost two people to dementia, and I would love to be able to be your first.
So you told me that your wife, your deceased wife, Nancy, was in memory care. Tell me about your decision to get her to memory care. What led up to that? That must have
And
been really hard.
it was the most difficult decision I had to make, but the right one.
Tell me about it.
Nancy was diagnosed in 2015, and we were able to travel until 2018. But I learned in traveling that her agitation was increasing.
Uh,
Her flare-ups was becoming more and more regular. And after she threw me out of the house 3 times, not recognizing me as her husband, it became apparent to me that we needed to have a plan B. And that plan B meant looking at a facility to place her. And so we searched out facilities and found a memory care community in East Orlando that I thought was very, very good for her. And it actually did turn out, after she made the adjustment in the facility, to be the right decision until COVID happened. And COVID was the death knell for her because the decline was so dramatic. Isolation,
Isolation.
isolation from me for 28 weeks
Wow.
without a recognition of being able to communicate on the phone or a tablet where people were doing FaceTime. And emotionally, it was very hard for me to see this deterioration, but have no chance of doing anything about it because of the restrictions
Sure.
that had been placed. And finally, when they lifted the restrictions, there I was in a gown, a mask, and a shield, looking like an outer space character. And so until I was able to get her in her room where I can privately release my mask and shield, then she recognized me as the ice cream man because that's what I always did. I
You brought
brought her
ice.
ice cream, frozen custard. And so she didn't know my name anymore. She didn't recognize me as her husband anymore,
But she was happy.
but she was happy with
And
her
you're
ice.
making memories.
Absolutely. These are treasured, and to get as many people to send her birthday cards at her facility and place them on her wall. Her room was the most decorated room in the memory care community. It was just a beautiful place.
Well, and Ms. Gittles, how about you? What was your experience that brought you to dementia-friendly dining?
Well, I've known Dennis for a number of years and had met Nancy when we did dementia-friendly cruising, which we're not going to talk about today, but
No.
another opportunity for people to create memories,
Right.
travel, and in a supported environment. So we had become friends, and I had helped him care for Nancy and visit her in memory care as well. So when the idea of dementia-friendly dining came around, he invited me to participate. It turned out that I knew the owners. I knew Isabella, and it was just a perfect time for us to partner and to start the process of creating these dementia-friendly environments for people to go
Wow.
out. And I, having taken care of my mother for that long, I was all about reducing any regrets that I would have as a caregiver and providing memories that I could treasure after she was gone.
So we talk about training. What kind of training do you do with the staff? And they first of all have to be receptive to it. And it seems to me that in any kind of business where you're dealing with hospitality, your number one core value is to make your the customer is always right. The customer is always should always leave happy. So how do these folks receive the training?
Well, we have to get buy-in by the management. That's essential. And the willingness to set aside a specific day and time that they will actually reduce the amount of traffic in the restaurant. So
Which costs them money.
it could, but typically what we're finding is they pick out afternoon times
When
when
they're
traffic is lower.
low.
They've taken care of their lunch crowd, their dinner crowd hasn't come in yet. And so it's during those slow hours that creates a win-win for everybody
Sure.
because their staff can then be trained on what's different in serving families that have loved ones with dementia. And there are differences. And so Toni and I spend about 30 minutes doing this training. And it's very specific. We go through what dementia is. We go through why we're doing dementia-friendly dining. We go through the benefits. And this is rather quick. And then we start giving them tips to add to their skill set because we know they're already trained servers, but there are
Yes.
differences. And when we're talking about this specific day and time, we got to focus on the client. And that client is that family that's coming in here, the caregiver who's looking for respite,
Oh, yes.
a little relaxation, being able to then take pride in the fact that they had a great meal out in public, that they could still experience quality life experiences. And for the person with dementia, they get the attention that they deserve. And I think Toni could talk about some of the tips that we give them.
Right.
And what are some of those?
Some of the tips.
Speaking of perfect segue.
I know, that was very good, wasn't it? One of the things is sometimes the individual with dementia does not respond or give an order. The caregiver might do
I
that.
see.
But we encourage the servers to make eye contact with the individual with dementia and smile a lot. Now, that's not different. They should be smiling with
Anyway,
everyone,
yes,
but
yes.
that puts the individual at ease. The other thing is that an individual can be startled by quick movements or by approaching from the back. So we suggest that they serve from the front, including water, anything that they're serving, to face the individual. Also, when they're seated at the table, to put the individual in a position so they're not facing the crowd in the restaurant. So that diminishes some of the chaos that might be occurring or the commotion.
The focus, in other
Yeah,
words,
yeah.
is not where the commotion is, but
Right. It's
more
on the
more
family
isolated.
or the server and the meal itself. Also, to avoid physical contact, because that can create a response from the
It
individual
could
that
startle
might
them
be
too. Yeah,
unpleasant.
yeah.
Yeah. And also to pay attention to the caregiver who is, as Dennis said, in need of relaxation as well, and who, may has all their attention on their loved one, but by the server providing that attention, that enables them to relax while they're there.
Excellent, excellent. So, do you have any stories about what has happened within the experience of, well, for example, um, what has happened in the event that somebody goes and has a family member that has dementia? And have you received any feedback regarding what occurred?
Well, all of the incidences that we have heard about or participated in, because we gather our friends and take them to the
Along.
dining experiences as well, have been very positive. Um, the idea of creating memories in this nice environment. Most of the restaurants are very casual dining, and we have one restaurant that is, what do we call it? Fine dining.
Dementia-friendly dining.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And
And
go
this
ahead.
one's special.
Which one's that?
This one is a very private dining room at a land remembered at Rosen Shingle Creek.
Oh, wow.
And they are now allowing families to make reservations on either the first or third Sunday afternoon between the hours of 2 and 4 o'clock when the restaurant is not even open.
Huh.
And that this is true fine
Yeah.
dining. I love
The legacy of Mr. Rosen.
Yes.
And unfortunately, Mr. Rosen passed shortly after they started this. But it is certainly creating opportunities for families to have a safe place where they could take their loved ones and family people and celebrate life while they still can in a private dining room.
Right.
That just creates an atmosphere of being really special.
How about that? Anything else that you've come across with dementia-friendly dining that you would, well, that you would recommend to others?
Well, we do have an array of restaurants
Oh,
to choose from. We've got,
I know they're in you've got a website,
we
right?
do.
And it's on that.
It is.
Okay, you've told us about Land Remembered. What else do you have?
Well, we've got the home-friendly townhouse in Oviedo.
Oviedo.
And that's a private room that they have set aside to do this. Again, reducing all of the noise
Stimulus.
and exactly around. We have a barbecue restaurant that is very relaxed in Chuliota We have a Mexican restaurant on the East Orlando side, Pepe's
Pepe's
Cantina,
Cantina. I think
which is
we
really,
went. We were at one of
That's the
the
one.
events.
Yeah.
we do have Perkins, which has a private dining room and a great staff.
All Perkins, or just
No.
or
No,
one
just the one
particular?
in Winter Springs right now. But that's also the place that I host men's support groups, men who are taking care of wives or parents that have dementia. And so they have,
Gosh, that's needed.
it is indeed, we need more men to participate.
So, what can we do about recruiting?
Men
Yeah,
or restaurants or both?
all of the above.
Well, we do need more dementia-friendly dining restaurants. So if there are any that could be suggested, I would love to hear about them.
Listen, folks, if you know of a restaurant out there or you yourself own a restaurant, you need to sign up. This is good stuff.
Great. Thank you for that tip. And as far as the men go, the support group for men is sponsored through the Alzheimer's and Dementia Resource Center. And I'm a volunteer for that group, but I've been doing it for a number of years. And just yesterday, I had a guy come back who lost his wife a year and a half ago. And he came back to thank me and the
Wow.
group for how much support he received and how important it is that other people do this. And so I was deeply appreciated because he had to drive in from the coast to
Wow.
be able to do this. So the opportunity is there. And any men who are caregivers,
Guys, we're calling you. Let's do it.
it's a great resource.
Well, we're going to take a brief pause at this time. When we come back, we're going to talk about something else that you're involved in, and that's Nana's Book Foundation. Okay? Welcome back. We're going to continue now talking about dementia-friendly dining, but in a different way. Dementia-friendly dining was the diving board that led our guests here, particularly Dr. Dulniak, to go ahead and found a foundation, Nana's Book Foundation. Doctor, tell us about it.
Well, thanks for the opportunity to talk about Nana's Books Foundation. This is by far my biggest passion and how I'm just creating a legacy for not only Nancy, who died of Alzheimer's, but a legacy for the family and an opportunity for other people and sponsors and corporations to share their wealth in a way that they can help families learn more about what's happening with this disease.
Oh,
So
there's more and more people that are being diagnosed. There's there is a statistic that I read that by the year 2030, 2050, there will be 17, 18 million people in the United States.
that's 2050, I believe.
2050, there you go.
Yeah, when that's going to happen. And so my foundation focuses on giving students in Title I schools grade appropriate material that talks about Alzheimer's, dementia, and other disabilities. And it's the other disabilities that became important because my grandson was born with cerebral palsy.
Right.
He's now 7.5. He's in first grade. And we've learned that schools and other children are not prepared to deal with other kids who are
Right.
different than them.
Right.
And we have found great resources that address various disabilities. And so it's not only the books on Alzheimer's and dementia that we're putting in students' hands, it's this other opportunity to share the resources about the other disabilities of both physical, mental, and cognitive,
Yes.
and the differences there. But initially, it was focused on Alzheimer's because Nancy, who had that disease, had a grandson who struggled as a teenager of understanding what this was happening to her
Oh, wow.
and finding
Right.
resources to help that age group was not readily available. So our foundation, which was started in December of 2020, a month before Nancy died, And actually, I was able to share this with her on her deathbed, that we were starting this foundation. My sons and I created this, and now we're in our 4th year to where we have now distributed over 20,000 books to 24 Title I schools in 11 states and the District of Columbia.
Wow.
And these books, we also give sets of books to the neighboring public library.
Well, there's also a move or something afoot with a Title I school that you're involved with.
Well, it's interesting. This year, we've had 2 Title I schools in Florida that had been both hit by 3 hurricanes in the last year and a half. And one of them was in an area where a major sponsor lived. And he and his wife got to participate in 2 large assemblies.
Hands on.
And actually, he told me later, after the assemblies, they went to their car and cried.
Oh, sure.
Because
sure.
how touched they were that these kids, and we had over 400 kids in 2 assemblies, each assembly, just riveted to what we were talking about. And the understanding and the appreciation for these kids to get books to take home without paying for them
Right.
was just an awesome responsibility. Then Toni and I got to visit several classes and read some of these books to these classes. And that was emotional. And I know she loved all the hugs she got.
They were a very loving group of children and
Wow.
very appreciative. The excitement when they were told, because this was a surprise, that they were getting their own books to take home and to share with their families. They just cheered and they got so excited. It was
Kind of like
quite a moment. You remember?
Oprah moment.
Yeah, it was so great. You get a book and you get a book. Absolutely. They all got books.
That's wonderful. That is wonderful.
And the teachers really took it on to do some reading of the books in the classrooms. And in one of the schools, the 6th graders read books into the lower classrooms. So they were involving the whole school in a beautiful way that we hadn't seen before.
Multi-age, yeah. How do you raise funds for the books?
Well, all of the funds are coming from donations. We've obviously tapped family and friends. and we are at that point where we're now going for grants.
Good.
And this year we were able to secure a grant that got us into Madison County.
Oh, wow.
And
that's not a very rich county in Florida.
No at all. When we got up there, it was quite rural.
Yeah.
Actually, we got on some dirt roads still in the county.
I do not doubt it. I do not doubt it.
So seeing the fact that that would definitely be a Title I area became quite obvious. And then just a week or so ago, we were in Palmetto, Florida, which was hit by hurricanes. And they reached out to me and said, "Can you help our kids?" And so our foundation went in and took them over 1,400 books to their 600 students. When we take books to school, it is not just a single book per kid. It is books for kids, extra books for kids, and a set of books for each classroom library, and a full set of books
That's awesome.
to the school library.
That is phenomenal.
And so donations are very important, and we're dependent upon opportunities like this to share our cause, with an opportunity coming up very, very shortly.
Oh, yes? Tell us about that.
Well, it's Hollerbacks, which happens to be our current dementia-friendly dining restaurant that I hadn't mentioned
in Sanford, Florida.
In Sanford, Florida.
Downtown Sanford.
Who would think that Hollerbacks would be dementia-friendly? Well, they came to me and asked, and I interviewed their manager.
Because there's so much
excitement.
It's such a lively place. Every time I've been, it's just full of life.
It is indeed. And so many people
love
to go there and enjoy life. Well, they set aside a side of their restaurant away from the front door between the hours of 2 and 5. Again, that low time period
Sure.
where they can enjoy going there and enjoying German food, German beer, German costumes that the staff wear, and on top of
It's a
that,
show.
they have then had the opportunity to host nonprofits every Tuesday night, where they give the proceeds back to the nonprofit.
Wow.
Well, Nana's Books is a nonprofit, and they were able to give us May 27th of this month as the opportunity to receive funds from their bingo night,
Well, this is that's the day after this airs.
Yeah.
which is
So
perfect
if
timing.
you're watching out there, holler backs.
Hollerbacks,
6
May
p.m.
27th,
May
6 p.m.
27.
and all proceeds will come to Nana's Books. We'll actually have special drawings. We'll have a 50-50 drawing where half of the funds raised will go to the winner. We'll have T-shirts that people can buy that show Nana's Books logo and the mission on the back of the shirt. And so this is going to raise funds for a special cause to put books into a Seminole County Title I school.
Awesome. That's great.
Now, we've hit Orange County already back in 2022 at the Academic Center for Excellence, and I want to bring it to Seminole County, and Hollerbacks is making that happen.
That's awesome. That is one way to, well, the legacy that you are leaving behind, that basically enriches our community. The two of you are, I would say, angels in the community. You know, I know that when I met you, I had all kinds of questions um, about dementia-friendly dining. The one way that I put that to rest was by going that one time that it was offered um, for folks to go and to learn about it in the in vivos, alive, and I've never stopped being impressed. Uh, thank you, thank you very much, Dr. Dulniak, and thank you, Ms. Gittles. This has been a great conversation. Thanks for opening our eyes and for advocating for a fuller life to be lived with lots of good memories. Remind us, where can we learn more and continue our conversations about dementia and dementia-friendly diet?
Well, we do have a web page at Central Florida Dementia Friendly Dining. We have a Facebook page as well for Dementia Friendly Dining. And Nana's Books has its own web page at nanasbooks.org and its Facebook page, as well as other social media as well. And so opportunities for learning about this, getting involved, becoming a volunteer
Are plenty. Well, from Studio 226 in Orlando, Florida, so long, be well, and enjoy each day to the fullest.